Hello everyone, welcome to another Voice Essentials live hangout. It is so good to be spending what is another Monday afternoon with you all. I hope you're having a great time wherever you are, that you're safe and healthy. For many of you, of course, it's late on a Sunday evening. I hope you've had a restful weekend, surrounded by friends and family, that you haven't had to work too much. We are in for another treat today. We've got special guests, Laurel and Dr. David from VoiceScienceWorks. I'm going to introduce them to you in a moment, and I just think we're going to have a really informative show today. Something tells me that that's going to be the case. But then again, when we have special guests, when do we not have an informative show? Before we do get into welcoming our special guests, there's a few things that I just want to quickly go through. If you are on my mailing list, and there's 13,000 of you, you will know by now, well, maybe you will, maybe you won't, because you may not have checked your email. Voice Essentials 3 is live. It is where we all go at the Easter show. It's up, running. Many of you, a lot of you, have Voice Essentials 1, Exercise Collection, and Voice Essentials 2. And now you have access to another 15 activities that hopefully will help you in your vocal development. So that brings the total suite of voice activities in the Voice Essentials suite to 50. And I'm really excited to see how you're able to use these exercises for your vocal development. For 1 week only, starting today, through till Monday next week, for 1 week only, you can get Voice Essentials 3 for a slightly cheaper price than you would if you wait beyond the 1 week. So just as an introductory price, for those of you who do want to just complete the set of 1, 2, 3, you can grab that right now. And also, you can grab all of the lesson sheets. We've released all the lesson sheets as e-manuals, if you like, PDF booklets that you can download and just help to direct your learning even further. For those of you who might have noticed, I don't know if you can you see something at the back there? It's sort of almost covered. Let me see if I can take this away for a second. There's a silver play button back there, everyone. For those of you who've been following the channel for quite some time, you will know that we recently passed the 100,000 subscriber mark. We're up to, I think, 115 or something now. So the subscriber button arrived last week. I honestly didn't think it'd get here before Christmas, having to come from the US, but it did. I will give you a closer look at that next week. Yeah, I gotta say, I was quite chuffed to receive it. So it's now got pride of place at the back of the wall there. One final thing, and this is more on a somber note. You may recall quite a number of months ago, we had a guest on our show, Dr. Mary Beth Dame. Sadly, Dr. Dame passed away last week, and such an incredible woman who has given so much to the field of, for that matter, voice science. It's really quite timely that we get to really talk about voice science today, because Dr. Dame gave so much to the field of voice pedagogy, and I just wanted to let you all know of her passing. Please don't ask me what the nature of her passing was, because I actually don't know. But I did want to let you know that she had passed away, given that she had been here on the show. And I was quite saddened to hear that was the case. And just on that matter, someone that we haven't had on the show, but someone that I knew personally, someone that had been a big name in a sense, and had really given a lot to the Australian voice pedagogy, voice teaching space here in Australia, Margaret Simms. She also passed away last week. She used to teach in Canberra, and she was a wonderful woman and gave so generously to the Australian voice teaching community, and so she'll be sadly missed also. So I hope they both, my hope is that they both rest in peace. We are going to talk voice science today. I'm really looking forward to our conversation with our guests. And we are going to get into it right after this.
Sound check. Check 1, check 2.
Hello, Dr. David and Laurel. Of course,
Hi.
The name is the opposite underneath. I should have had Laurel and Dr. David. It is switch and swatch. It is so good to have you guys on the show. Finally, I've known of you guys for quite some time, and really respect and love what you guys are doing. Tell us a bit more about who you are and where you're from, and how is it you came to form this thing called VoiceScienceWorks.
Sure. I'll let Laurel actually answer that, but I just wanted to say thank you. It's such a pleasure to be here with this amazing community. Congratulations on the 100,000 mark.
Thank you.
And thank you for remembering those two women and all of their contributions.
Yeah,
it's sad news. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, David and my story, we met each other at the same time. We really dove into this world of voice science and voice research, and we actually fell in love at a voice science conference. It's a great dating app. And then we, deeply fell in love with this information and how to, we met at the Summer Vocology Institute with Dr. Ingo Tietze about 6 years ago.
Wow.
And we both come to that place from, as singers, as conductors, as composers, as voice educators, and both with kind of a curiosity and also a frustration from, our own paths of trying to find, all the things our voices could do and how to express change we want to happen with a group of singers or with students, and just always kind of falling short or, throwing darts in the dark.
Yeah.
And so that frustration, along with just a curiosity of, oh my God, like, there's people who could tell me what actually happens when I make sound, and, can I somehow weave together all the narratives I've heard from, the 30 different voice teachers I've worked with. So yeah, we came to that summer with a lot of questions and excitement, and left that summer saying, okay, that was a lot of information. We were dissecting larynges and doing equations about glottal flow, airflow past the, ligament, and all this very nitty gritty, deep dive stuff.
Yeah.
So we said, how can we turn that around? How can we immediately share it with groups? As David works with choirs, how can we work together with groups of singers? And the process we went through of sharing it right away ended up becoming this website, VoiceScienceWorks.org. And from that, building a community, an organization where we now share lots of information for free online, and then also travel and give lots of workshops and work with clients, and really, helping to share the information and also create experiences where voice learning is easier, more joyful, more fun, and just efficient and direct because of the science.
Yeah, and we do online workshops and other ways to access to, given the nature of our world today, and that we can talk to Australia right now is really amazing. So we've tapped into that in different ways. Laurel said something within the first few days of knowing each other. We both had a conversation about, what if there were a website? Because at the time, that was 5 years ago, and there just wasn't a lot. There's so much more now than there was then. And I even had trouble convincing my collegiate faculty to open up to this idea of voice science, which is phenomenal that 5 years ago, but I guess there's probably colleges today too. But the first steps that we took was I had Laurel come and join me in Boston, and we're in Los Angeles now, but we were in Boston then, and just start working with the ensembles that I was teaching and some one-on-one students, and just saying, what if we brought this one piece of information into an ensemble rehearsal for 10 minutes? What could happen? And the results over very little time were astonishing.
Wow.
And we were still very much fumbling around trying to figure it out, how to get it there. So over the course of about a year and a half, we honed it, and then said, okay, that website idea really really is needed.
What we want to share. Yeah.
And then since then, we like to say that we play with voice science primarily for ourselves first, and do the reading we do and the exploration and research that we
Just
do,
making weird sounds as
right?
much as possible. Yeah.
And seeing why, and asking questions, and seeing who else is researching the whys, and finding ways to be curious as a daily experience. And there's a kind of extra joy that we get to do it together. It overwhelms our daily lives sometimes, but we'll be doing something and someone say, wait, what if this was true? But it's really fun. We have a great time because we're both performers as well, and composers, and so we come at music from so many directions, and it keeps life fun.
Yeah, it's we have, just listening to your story and how it's evolved, and evolving. I was saying to a student only last week that I could never, in fact I think it was when the YouTube the play button arrived, and it arrived during a lesson, so the student got to be there when I opened it up, and it was quite nice. And I was saying, when I started teaching, I'll have been teaching 25 years next year. When I started teaching, I could never have envisaged that I would be teaching in the way that I teach now, or utilizing the technology that I mean, what are we doing, right? I mean, it's crazy, right? And the way I would have gotten to know someone like yourselves, even 10 years ago, I would have had to have hopped on a plane and gone to a conference and met you in person. And here we are on opposite sides of the planet, engaging and talking voice. But not only that, when I started teaching voice in the late 90s, they're just, voice science was just starting to emerge into the mainstream. It was still very fledglingly. That's not even a word. It was little, in the big scheme of things. We were still it was still the apprentice teacher model, monkey see, monkey do, and there's just been so much, hasn't there, that's happened in the last 20 years. It's not to say that all we know about voice has happened in the last 20 years, but it's exponential, the amount of information coming about. How have you two found yourselves being able to ride that wave? Because at times it does feel like a tsunami.
Yeah. And I think, as we're saying, the technology we have to share information is what is driving a lot of that. Like, as we said, we started the website 5 years ago, partly because it's our joy and something we wanted to share, but also because one of David's colleagues said, I can't even find the word voice science on the internet. Vocology doesn't even show up on Google. And we were like, oh, well, we better put something on the map. And now, there's so many people sharing blogs and podcasts and different websites, and it's almost this new expectation that a voice teacher has to also be an internet, mastermind. So in a way, I would say for me, my own journey is shifting from, how much can I take in, to what now can I whittle down and find the most useful. And our website was always, we're going to share everything. We're going to point people to all the things that work. Like, if it works, try it, and keep it if you like it. But I'd say more and more, just in our own practice, we're now making that maybe a smaller box, and then at times we'll widen it again. But just, the internet, we no longer are, information isn't the problem. It's curating the information. That's the gift you can give someone, is helping them kind of put a few blinders up. Once they get to explore everything, now what can I do that is really for me, and I can deepen into for a while.
I might add.
No, go. No, you go.
But just to add to that, maybe say it in a slightly different way. What we noticed maybe a couple of years ago, Laurel said, I think a lot of people are seeing voice science as a way a new way to realize how they're wrong still. And so every new piece of information is one more reason they're not doing it right. And we've had friends who we've noticed, well, now I know all the muscles, so I can tell where I'm really messing up. And so we've, as we learn and teach and hear from people and see what, sticks and all that kind of thing. I'm assuming a lot of people listening today are probably, learn by ear, or they, the idea of even talking about a muscle is probably foreign to their interest or experience, and that's totally fine. We actually have been trying to realize what elements are the most essential to get the body to respond, start there without explanation, and then add pieces of information as we go. And more curious people who want to know anatomy will go seek that out, and we can have that conversation, or physics or whatever. But a large part of what we do, I think in part because we work with so many performers in very limited number of space and time, is about immediate results, and then we explain why that worked. So that's, and just another historical thing, you had talked about, the amount of information and technology that are available to us. We like to talk about how voice science has paralleled sports science and neuroscience in its zenith, or its new kind of exploration. That in the 80s, each of those fields was starting to really bud. And as you mentioned, in the 90s, there was this explosion. And actually, both sports science and neuroscience have so much to do with what we do as well. So talking about the body and talking about the brain is a huge part of what we care about as vocalists. So a lot of what we're doing today is, how can we apply these complex fields into immediacy?
It's something that that we talk about a lot here on the channel, and I mentioned quite a bit about that correlation between sports science and what we're doing. In my humble opinion, I think in many respects we're kind of we're following in the footsteps in our zenith, if you like, of sports science. There's so much that we're starting to acknowledge about the physiology of the voice and those sorts of things. I love just to harken back to a word that Laurel used earlier, and that is the curating of information. It's such a challenging thing to do, especially in a world that is saturated with information. And even, if I might be so bold, even spaces where the information may not be of the highest quality, they're still, often those spaces are still using language that can be represented, have a suggestion that they know what they're doing and what have you. And one piece of turn of phrase, and I want to throw this to you guys to see what your thoughts are. One turn of phrase that's used a lot now, and it's sort of the buzzword, if you like, in our field, or one of the buzzwords, and that is evidence-based pedagogy. What's your feeling around when you hear that term? What do you guys equate with evidence-based pedagogy?
That was all very diplomatic, by the way.
Thank you.
I mean, I guess, because I don't know if you're hinting at this, but evidence could just be like, well, when I had them, imagine this thing, the sound got better, and that's my evidence, and so this works. I mean, we're always, as teaching, throwing things in the wall, see if it sticks, and then making an assumption about why, or repeating it because of that. And that is a scientific practice. Like, it's not, voice science isn't the first time teaching has involved, some scientific method. But to, frame true research without bias, and to do your best to do that, and to create, experiments within a vacuum, and get other people's perspective besides just you and, the student singing. You're clearly biased. You want them to improve, so maybe you heard that they improved. I don't know, that kind of, the voice studio might, not be purely scientific. So yeah, I guess when I think of, vocal exercises and warm-ups that have really been studied in a more laboratory setting, that we can then apply in the studio, like SOVG's
Yeah.
strophonation, so heavily researched. Um,
So
yeah,
just
that's what
so
comes
just
to
for
mind.
those people who are watching, SOVT is semi-occluded vocal tract exercises, so that people know what we're talking about.
There's a page on our website that gets
Yeah,
into that.
there we
Yeah,
go.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
When
yeah,
I would say with the evidence and listening to your very diplomatic introduction, it's hard to say out loud, who's right and who's wrong.
yeah. It is.
And we actually, through the neuroscience research that we've been reading, we've done our best to move away from judgment language in our practice, and it's just made a world of difference in our own experience, because the part of the brain that experiences and expresses judgment is foreign to, or at least complicates, the parts of the brain that do voicing. And just think about the chatter in your mind and how that can get in the way of anything you do, let alone something as complicated as singing a difficult passage. And so, when we use a positive, we open the door for a negative, and so judgment in any form is going to complicate our ability to be present with our senses and our feelings and things of that nature.
Yeah.
So then that also leads us to say, we have a lot of compassion for everybody who's trying to figure out this very difficult thing.
Yeah.
And for the pressure that we as a community place on ourselves, on singers, on teachers, on anybody related to the voice, to have to know, when the thing itself is so complex that even those who know the most about it don't know. And so then then people can get in these really complicated arguments about,
Yeah.
well, when I'm alone with a person, I can get them to sing anything I want, and somebody else saying, well, but do you know where the CT muscle is? And they're like, I don't care, because and so we get in these round robin conversations when really, at the end of the day, we're all just trying to help people experience their voice, because the voice is so much of an integral part of who we are as people.
Yeah.
And that in itself is worthy of, anybody who wants to take a spin down the track to try and help that voice work. So, that's really broad and saying, everybody's got a place here. And at the same time, wanting to guide people to more immediate ways to access their experience and ways to find in their voice things that they're looking for. And so when I think about the term evidence-based learning, I'm not just thinking about, how many different studies that I can reference, though that's not harmful, but we look to, science as a tool for repeatable, measurable learning.
Independent of the people involved.
Yeah. So that if I can do it in my studio, you can do it in your studio too. And if not, we can talk about why. And maybe it's something that was inherent in the setup, or maybe it's something new we've learned now because we're doing it different. So there's that. And then also, we've really enjoyed using Voce Vista and Mada, which are Mada is a voice synthesizer, Voce Vista is a voice analyzer.
Yeah.
Because both of those programs have the capacity to focus in on individual parts of the sound.
Yeah.
And there simply is nothing more measurable than if we can actually have all of the bits in front of us and listen to one at a time and look at them and play with them. And because all that we have as vocalists, perception based from our sound, is the sound itself, right? And so we can talk all day about the bits that go into making it happen, and they're all important. But the final point, that where we actually hear the sound and perceive it, feeds back actually to the way we produce it.
Yeah.
That's something we can all start to measure now, because we have technology to do it.
I know we're going to have an opportunity. You guys have got Voce Vista ready to go and show us in a moment. But before we do, I just want to sort of finish our conversation around this whole topic of evidence-based learning, because I'm really loving learning from you guys right now. you know, back in the 19th century, the 20th century, there was this big clash, wasn't there, between religion and science, yeah, and the tension between the two. In voice teaching, in a not dissimilar way, there has been a massive clash between the art and the science, you know, and there have been teachers that have built, you know, forts on top of mounds of both, you know, and championed both. Personally, I acknowledge that singing is an art form, but equally it's underpinned by science and can be enhanced by our understanding scientifically. Where do you guys, you know, see the tension of those two worlds currently?
I mean, it's almost like the tension or balance we have inside our own brains of the different parts of the brain that wants to know facts and figures and lists, and then the part of the brain that wants to know how, the actual kind of subconscious, just doing and going and flowing, singing, performing. And so with our teaching, we like to think about, you know, just time and place for each, and don't get them mixed. You know, if we talk about like we're going into a know that zone, or a, you know, left prefrontal cortex zone. And right now we're really going to dig into this like understanding of facts and figures and book knowledge kind of stuff. And then when we go out of that into now we're singing, and I'm not going to stop you. I'm just going to, you know, give you one buzzword that'll maybe remind you that thing we talked about. But once we're in the flow, once we're going, the know-how, to be really disciplined and not try to go back into that talking, managing, listing place, because they really can get in the way of each other. And everyone who's been on stage knows that you don't want the part of your brain that talks to you, I mean, at all, to be talking to you. You want to be going and flowing, and maybe that's the art part you're speaking of.
Yeah.
But without the part of the brain that knows these facts and figures and the way it kind of works, we really can't set up goals, and targets, and these efficient ways of making the progress we want to make. So yeah, we absolutely need both. And it's a gift that we have these brains that can manage.
Yeah.
And to say people are, you know, whether you think you're using that part of your brain or not, if you're trying to explain something, you have to use that logical part of your brain.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you can inform it and inform it in focused ways, you just make your life easier.
Yeah.
And even the most hands-off explanation void individuals still explain what they think is happening.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I think so much of these kind of conflicts is just because people are scared, or they don't understand, or, you know, they want to fight with somebody. And so, you know, I say, if you're mad about something, go find somebody who represents it, have a beer, and figure it out. There's something to learn there. So
it's a matter of being able to hold it in positive tension, isn't it? You know, so that it, you know, you are garnering the best of both points.
Yeah, and like Laurel was saying, we one of the modules we teach is about our understanding of the brain and how task creation and execution toward the ultimate goal, that we can do the thing without having to think about it, is just a huge process of that is pedagogy. That is learning.
Yeah.
And so that's a huge thing we talk about, and that is that tension. You have to know some about it to set it up, but then you also eventually have to release it into the experience. Yeah.
No, that's really, you know, a fascinating angle that you've brought to us today, and I'm really enjoying you know, I'm going to be thinking about this for the next week, definitely. I wonder if because I know you want to take us into some practical application of this sort of stuff. Do you want to sort of lead the way for the next 10 or 15 minutes over what you wanted to show us?
Yeah, absolutely. So as David mentioned, the software, it's SYGYT SIGIT Voce Vista, and it's an overtone analyzer. There's many overtone analyzers, but this is the one we have really enjoyed working with. because of its visual layout, and then also this ability to filter individual parts of the sound or overtones that
Cool.
David mentioned.
Yeah.
And finding a way to really make a software like this work for you, to use it to the advantage of the way our brain learns best, where it can create that specific target for you without me having to chat at you about what's happening in your body and this is the sound I'm looking for. And it just, the way this software can create sound that your brain can more easily pay attention to speaks to the part of ourselves that makes sound so much better than our words ever can. And so that's what we've enjoyed the most with playing with a software like this. Can you see this new screen with us?
I can see the new screen.
You can hear the piano.
We can hear the piano. Well, at least
Excellent.
I can. I hope everyone else can.
Yeah.
We'll show you just a couple of our favorite games that we play on this software, and to say we teach right now. We're in the middle of teaching an online course that's 4 weeks long, where we teach people voice science primarily through the use of this software, because it's got this function where you can actually see the results of your sound.
Okay.
But then we also do a listen up package where people send us recordings, and we use the software to filter out their sound in these unique ways, so that we're guiding their ear in their own living room every day for 2 weeks. It's really fun.
Okay.
But to show you what we're talking about when we talk about guiding the ear, all sound is incredibly complex. Vocal sound is profoundly complex because of the fact that all of our parts move around. So what we can do with sound is just really, really incredibly complex, which is why the voice is so difficult.
And awesome.
And awesome, right, because we can do so much. So like if we sing a note, ah, there's my note, and you can see all the different harmonics in the sound.
Every line you see on the screen is a wave that existed in the air that our ear picked up on and perceived.
And this software tells us what the hertz value of that was. So you can see it was around 180 hertz there, and then you can see all of the different harmonics all the way up to 10,000 hertz, which is really high, that exist in my sound. And as Laurel mentioned, the coolest part about Voce Vista compared to other analyzers is that we can create these filters. And this little filter just is going to take one little part of the sound and play it back for you. And we'll do this real fast. We love this game. We show people what all the different parts of their sound are like. So I'll just do it real quick. That may be really quiet.
It's the hardest one to hear.
It's the fundamental. I think I can go loud again. And now the coolest part about your brain is that now that you've heard all those pieces as individual, I'm going to drag them all back in, and your brain will be able to differentiate them and hear them as individuals now that you're aware of them.
Any of that come through for you?
Oh yeah, that is. I'm really impressed.
Isn't that so much fun?
That's fantastic. That is so cool. I've never seen. I use Voce Vista 3, which is quite a bit older than I would say what you guys are using. That is so cool.
Is the one that created the filter, and then they merged with Voce Vista. So it's worth getting the new software.
Yeah. I might get you guys to send me the link.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Because what I tell you, the other thing I love about the representation visually is the way it almost has it sort of, the way it shows the fundamental as being quite the visual representation is quite different to what we see, in, for example, my version of Voce Vista. That is so cool. I'm like a kid in a candy store.
Fun games like so because the voice is so complex, we said it moved around. If I do that same pitch but sing an ooh, ooh, you see how everything looks different.
Yeah.
Where the energy is, the darker red is where the energy is. So now the energy is way down here and here,
Yeah.
instead of right here in this middle.
Yeah.
But there's a reality to sound that we hear we hear vowel as frequency. So the vowel that we hear is related to frequency. So like the vowel sounds that make up ah are all right in here.
Yep.
And you can see as I sang the ah vowel, they're the strongest because my vocal tract shifted to bring them out. And just to show you how this works, if I just highlight those and play them, you'll hear ah. But if I get rid of them, you won't hear ah anymore. So you go back and forth. That's just one of those cool realizations that, oh, there's actually not just complexity in where I'm putting energy,
Yeah.
but our perception of each of these frequencies. These are the frequencies we hear as ooh.
Yes.
So when I sang an ooh vowel, my body knew to bring them out, and that's how you heard it as ooh.
Yeah.
So you start thinking perception-wise, and it becomes this really cool tool to play with.
Yeah.
And then, you know, the battles around like the language and the terms we have, head voice, chest voice, mix, legit, CT dominant, mode 1, all the different words we have, even bright, dark, loud, soft. We can start to just break down into, you know, what waves are stronger than other waves. Like that is a huge difference between opera, a sound appropriate for opera versus a sound appropriate for musical theater.
Yeah.
And they're all in my sounds, just which ones I bring out.
Yes.
So what we love to do with students is, you know, have them sing a sound and then show them, look, with this software, if I bring out a little bit more of this one, look, you sound just like an opera singer. Sing into that sound. You're your own role model. You have it in you. You just have to hear it in order to bring it out more. And the variety of vocal sounds just becomes everyone's grab bag to play with.
And riffing on that, this is a recording that Laurel made before we went into a workshop a couple weeks ago, because we were talking about language around voice. So registration language is one of the more confusing aspects of voice instruction.
Yeah.
So we're like, what if you just recorded 10 sounds that, you know, could be called head voice? And so we could show it in the analyzer. And so she did, like in one take kind of thing. So these are just 10 sounds. She was like, yeah, that sounds kind of like head voice to me.
What someone could call
head voice.
Yeah.
And so you can see visually how different they look.
Yeah.
And it takes a second to play, so we'll play it for you so you can hear what this sound like.
That's what vibrato looks like.
Lovely tremolo at the end there. Yeah.
Snow White vibrato. Yeah.
Very good.
And so just the, you know, those are all, you could call all those head voice, but they're just looking and listening, they're so radically different. So allowing our language to shift from these kind of traditional metaphoric approaches.
Really broad brush categories.
Yeah. Because head voice, chest voice, you only got like 2 options. But look, just in 10 sounds, we have so many radical differences.
Yes.
So then with Voce Vista, you can actually see the differences. You've got the recording capacity to play them back. And like Laurel was saying, and which gives us, now we're just talking about sound. We don't have to talk about words. So, and when we look at the sound and listen to it together, I don't have to bring my words into this. I can say, what do you see here that's different? And you can say, like, if we compare this sound to this one, let's say this was the target sound that the teacher wanted to bring out, or that the student said, I want to sound like that. How do I get there? And then the student made this sound, or if you want to do it on yourself, you can do that too. But let's say we just look at it and we say, okay, well, this is your sound. What looks different? They say, well, this one's a lot bolder here, and mine's a lot bolder here on this one. So, and up here, I don't have much of anything. So then we start creating filter boxes. And the coolest part about this is that the student is an active part of it. So I'm just going to turn this one down to make it look the same. And I'll bring this one up here and make this one look similar. And then I'll do another one up here. And you get the idea just by looking at what's strongest. Now we're using the student's voice to create their target, or at least something closer to it. And what we haven't had to do is say, sing this way, sing that way. We've said, okay, so here are the elements. Let's listen to the target now. You kind of remember that original was like the kind of sound. So here's the target. And now we've created something more similar to it from that original wispy sound. And now we can say to the student, we can say, okay, well, what if we just listen to this part of the sound by itself and really get used to that, because it seems pretty important. We turn it way up and then they start listening to it. And what happens there neurologically is that the brain starts to say, oh, you wanted to pay attention to that. Oh, okay, I can do that for you. And it tells the voice, why don't you bring more of that out? And now the voice is responding simply because you promoted that sound in the ear, which is what we've done traditionally forever. We just said, like you set up earlier on, you said, we just found somebody who we wanted to sound like and listened to them for years. But now we can take anybody and any sound, look at what the important parts are, filter them out in their component elements, play them back. And what we've noticed is that this approach, partially because we're not using many words, but mostly because we're promoting the important sounds to the ears of the singer, the response tends to be instantaneous and it lasts. And it's so exciting when you've got headphones on somebody and you're monkeying around with these filters. You hear the sound just pop. And then you have them take the headphones off and say, now sing and listen for that. And they're like, I don't know what happened, but it's amazing.
Wow.
So anyway, that's something we're really excited about.
For good reason. Oh dear, I'm still nerding out over the software.
I know, right? Yeah, it's a great tool. I think the version we recommend for everyone in our class is like a $100 one-time fee on the Voce Vista website.
Yeah, right.
Again, not our software, but we love using it in our listening programs for singers, and then we teach a crash course on how to apply it in the studio as well.
And there is a lot of research in neuroscience to do with differentiation, neurological differentiation, or that honing in on specific aspects.
Yeah, okay.
And there's specific research on auditory differentiation and how it not only impacts the voice, but also your sense of calm and presence and posture. It's amazing what the ear does to the brain than to the body. So
you can hear sound in these more simple, digestible bits.
Yeah.
Like, as you just saw, is extremely complex, so much to take in.
Yeah.
But if you just can hear the little overtones one at a time. Yeah. Oh, okay, I can process that.
The ability of that software to zone in on the specific, overtones is just, my mind is boggling. That was cool. I'm so glad. Yeah. I loved that. That was, I can still remember when I was we had a teacher, a lecturer at university here at the Queensland Conservatorium, which is where I did my undergrad and my postgrad studies. And her name was Adele Nisbet, and she used to nerd out on this sort of stuff. But of course, that was back in the late 90s where that sort of software started to emerge. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking back to what that Genesis software did compared to what I just observed. Is just wow. Well, that was cool.
We've talked to several, if you know Alfred Tomatis and his progeny who use the Tomatis method. It's actually a therapy technique for people with autism and things of this nature. And they use a two band filters, so low harmonics and high harmonics. And we've worked with several of them and shown them what Voce Vista does and the specificity of it. And they've been doing this for decades, and they're like, oh, wow. That is new.
Yeah.
It's so much more robust, right? So it is,
cool.
and it wasn't intended for this purpose, but or the filtering I don't think was, but with all of the science behind neurological differentiation and then our experience with it, I truly believe this is the future of voice for the reasons we mentioned. You don't have to talk about it. It goes directly to the experience, and it's so simple. And as you play with it, like, you can put anybody's voice into it. You can take your favorite artist and just put the MP3, upload it right into Voce Vista, and look at what their resonance strategy is.
Which harmonics they boost.
What's the most important to them, and then listen to it. I do it all the time when I'm trying to sing a new style or a new song, and it takes so many hours off of my learning process.
Wow.
Because I go right to the heart of what's important, and I don't have to think about it. I just play it to my ear, and my brain figures it out for me. It's one of the cool things about our brains.
Yeah, that's cool. That is cool. I am sad to say, but we've come to the end of our time, because I would love to sort of, that was, what I will do is I'll get you guys to send me the link, maybe the direct link that we can send, and I'll put it in the description section of the, because I know I just sort of scanned some of the chat and people were like geeking out on it. So what I'd love to do is I'll put it into the description section below a bit later, everyone, and it'll be there for you to go and check out at your own leisure. David and Laurel, that has been a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed our time together. It is scary, isn't it? It is, it's scary how much there is being discovered constantly around our world of voice teaching, and the development of our understanding about this just fabulous thing called the voice. I've really enjoyed our time together. I wonder if you might just say a few final words in closing, and then I'll do the usual close off for the show.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll say something, Laurel can finish. Okay. We, as we continue in this exploration for ourselves, we always put creation and discovery and curiosity first, and so that for us has become a real point of connection with the material, so it doesn't feel like it's punitive or like we've missed something. It's always new, and there's so much to discover, like you said. And we do a 1 week in LA experience all day that for every day that ends in the creation of a new major work every summer.
And singers,
if anybody wants to just come and play with us, that's a fun way to, we do some voice science teaching, but then it's all through application and creation. So we'd love to see people there if you're interested in kind of playing with it in real time.
And as we mentioned, other ways to stay connected. We've got a newsletter that we curate and send out about once a month with fun stuff from the website and word of the week and that kind of stuff.
Awesome.
So sign up on our website if you want to stay in touch that way. Facebook, Instagram, of course. And the best way to connect, if you don't want to come to LA, although we'd love to have you, is through our online crash course, which we're just started. We're in the middle of, but we'll do again in the spring. And then this listen up package that we offer, where you send us 2 songs you want to work on. We create a specific exercise every day based on individual overtones in your voice that you then sing along with and practice with. And that goes on for 2 weeks of this really deep listening of the overtones in your voice. And so, you can always email us if you're interested in more in that process.
That would be a cool experience. I encourage, for those people who are watching, that sounds like it would be a really unique experience, and that it sounds like it would be really rewarding. So absolutely, thank you.
Thank you so much.
This has been a joy.
It was a lot of fun, and I really did appreciate having you on the show. So I'll wave goodbye for now, and there you go, guys. mind boggles as to the absolute application of what we just observed. And we just have the most fascinating, amazing people on this show. I am constantly humbled by the people that we have on the show, and Dr. David and Laurel were no exception. That was just fabulous. Make sure you like the video today, but share it amongst your socials. Let people know about what Laurel and David are doing, because I think it's groundbreaking stuff. It's really exciting to see where the practical application of voice science is going, and these guys are really out on some cutting edges. There you go, another show. Next week, I think we're doing a Q&A. I can't remember, to be honest. In fact, I think we were hoping to do a song review, but I haven't received anybody's talent release forms to do another one. So we might do a Q&A. I hope we get the chance to do a song review. We'll see. It'll be a surprise. I'll be showing you that thing up close next week. As always, stay safe, be kind to one another, and I will see you in the next Voice Essentials live. Oh, there's a pre-record video coming up on Wednesday. Don't miss it. And grab yourself a copy of Voice Essentials 3. I'll see you again soon. I'm Dr. Dan. Sing well.